Hi and welcome into Burner. We came all the way from the first Chinese noodle from 2000 BC via the stalls of Kaifeng and the ports of Hong Kong to the bone broth of Hakata. Today we, for real this time, conclude the road to ramen. Our final installment will be this tori paitan, which we can only describe as the essence of chicken. There is no storied history to this dish, so we have time to make the entire dish in this episode, although we will be referring to our previous videos for some techniques. We're opting for tori paitan as the ramen signifying the present day, because when the human was in Japan, he noticed tori paitan was all the rage in the trendier parts of Ikebukuro. Yes, the choice of recipe for this episode was based entirely on our anecdotal evidence. There might not be a lot of history to these, but there is some historic symbolism here. The first instant ramen was chicken ramen. Many believe that its accessible flavor was a major factor in ramen's growth to popularity. And it might be why we call ramen, well, ramen. Now, what we are about to say is entirely our theory. Pure speculation. A bric-a-brac from things we scrape together. Remember how we said in the previous episode that there's a bit of debate over the exact origin of the word ramen? There are loads of theories out there. Most say, and we agree, that it is likely a Japanification of the word ramyeon. But we made both of these and they are not that similar. Ramen aren't even pulled. And that's the whole point of ramyeon. Well, the early ramen eaters would agree, as they were originally called Nanking or Nanjing soba. The soba being the traditional Japanese noodle from Nanjing. However, this is a misnomer, as Nanjing is in northern China, whereas the origin of ramen lies in the south. Then the name Shina soba became popular. This literally means the soba from China. This name sounds fine, but is actually somewhat contentious. The normal word for China in Japanese is chukoku, which means middle land. This is also the name China gives itself. For Japan to refer to China by its Western name, Shina, sounds innocuous, but it was a clear rejection of the centuries-old China-centric naming convention. Therefore, its use is often linked with Japan's imperial period. After World War II, this name fell out of use and made way for chuka soba, a less contentious name based off chugoku, the traditional name for China. So you might now see how none of these names even remotely sound like ramen. And nobody really knows how ramen beat out the other ones. What we do know is that from World War II, ramen stalls were banned due to wheat rationing, so serving them would be illegal, and stalls would be supplied by the yakuza. It's pretty common for illegally traded goods to get many different names, we think. And we do emphasize think, as that's when the word ramen, as in the Japanification of ramyeon, started getting used more and more. Saying ramen instead of shina soba would essentially be saying, got any of those Chinese noodles? Wink wink, nudge nudge, know what I mean? After the war, Japan suffered a rice shortage. So the United States, keen to prevent the country collapsing and falling to communism, started providing flour, which led to the bans being relaxed and then fully abolished. By the late 1940s, references to ramen started appearing in radio shows. And in the 50s they started popping up in films, usually referred to as the food for students and those down on their luck. Although in that same era there were still ample other pieces of media calling it chuka soba. And some hardliners were even still calling it shina soba. So what helped ramen win the day? Enter Momofuku Ando. Like ramen itself, the inventor of instant ramen and founder of Nissin was also not originally Japanese. He was born Go-Pe-Hok in Taiwan and only became the Japanese citizen Momofuku Ando as an adult. He developed instant ramen and named it chicken ramen. This product was clearly aimed at the wider world. The original pack contained Romaji lettering, despite it initially not being meant for export. It even used the word chicken instead of the Japanese tori. Momofuku Ando chose chicken because, unlike pork or beef, there were no large parts of the world where consumption of chicken was frowned upon. It appears his choices were based on commercial viability, and that's why we think he chose the word ramen instead of chuka soba. It simply made more commercial sense. In addition to that, ramen is very easy to type in Roman letters and hardly leads to any confusion. Except in the Dutch-speaking world, where ramen means windows, which means looking for lunch there is very confusing. We ended up doing a history skit anyway. So now that we've explained why we're making essence of chicken ramen, let's actually make it. As this is a chicken stock, we're starting with a 1.5 kilogram chicken, which we're going to reduce to a carcass by cutting off the thighs and breasts. These will later become our meat toppings. To compensate for this loss of meat, we're going to need a bit of extra chickeniness. We're doing this by adding 1 kilo of chicken wings. Is that enough chicken? No, it isn't. We're also going to add 1 kilogram of chicken feet. If you can't get feet, just use extra wings. The pot now contains a total of 3 kilograms of chicken bits. Flood it with water and then boil in the exact same way we did with the tonkotsu stock in this video. That means bring it to a boil for 1 minute, refresh the water and clean the pot, and then bring it back to a boil. Like with our tonkotsu, we're first doing a replenishing phase where we keep our stock topped up with boiling water. After 4 hours we enter the thickening stage, which will also take up 4 hours. Here we stop adding fresh water and let it reduce. And then for the final 2 hours add some spring onion, garlic, ginger and kombu as aromatics. After 2 hours with aromatics in the pot, strain the stock. Then bring the stock to a rolling boil and blend it with an immersion blender. Freeze or cool, and if you did it all correctly, you will end up with a really creamy chicken broth. And it needs to be, because that's what tori paitan means, white chicken soup. Next up, our meat topping. You can just use pork char siu for this, but we're going to up the chickeniness even more. First, marinate the thighs and breast pieces we cut off the carcass. Our marinade is made of soy sauce, mirin, cooking sake, shaoxing wine, and sugar. Warm this up so the sugar dissolves. We can prepare this in a pot with a drop lid, or even a pressure cooker. But we are going to go even more modern. We're going to sous vide. Put the chicken in a bag with the marinade and a small piece of kombu. Seal and place this in the water for at least an hour at 66 degrees Celsius. Once it's done, get it out of the bag, pat it dry and save the marinade. Now we need to add some char. Oh dear, we here removed the skin, but you can leave that on. We just thought it was a bit too greasy. Now that it's a bit charred, you can eat it straight away, but we're going to put it in the fridge for a night. Because in chicken ramen, we need a ramen egg. So take the marinade from the sous vide bag and use them for medium boiled eggs. Pop these in the fridge along with the meat. The next day, it's time for super chicken ramen. Like last time, we're going to prep our toppings first. We're going with some nori, spring onion, our eggs, some naruto, and of course our chicken. But as per usual, this is up to you. We are keeping our tare really simple, since we don't want to overpower the flavor of the chicken. So take a base of sesame oil, season this with salt, white pepper and MSG. For bringing it all together, we're using the same setup as we did in the previous video. Jiggly stock on one side and a big pot of boiling water on the other. As this is all coming up to temperature, we're going to get our noodles ready. If you want to make your own noodles, go see how we did that in the previous episode. And with everything good to go, let's make us a bowl of ramen. Spoon some tare in a bowl and ladle over some stock. Then get some noodles boiling. Keep them moving as they are boiling. Noodles in the bowl, top up with some extra stock if needed. Add the toppings and done. And there it is, ramen, all caught up to the modern day. So of course we need to take a picture. We can now dig into what is essentially a bowl of collagen with some dough strands. And it is glorious collagen. Trust us, your lips will be sticky but very healthy. As soon as we reach the last sip of this soup, we have also reached the end of our road to ramen. And it was a long and winding road, but one submersed in milky soup mixture. And we would like some more. Where was I going with this? Oh yes, the road that led us here from the Song dynasty to the Qing, from Guangzhou to Asakusa, and then to the whole world. The story of ramen is an interesting one, a fun one, a taxing one, but above all, a tasty one. And we hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you really want to be our hero, go ahead and leave a comment. It really means the world to us. We're going to go away again for a bit, but not for too long this time, as we're moving on from the series concept. We might do a series in the future, but as it stands, we are looking at doing one-off episodes to minimize the long gaps like we had last time. We hope to see you again for these very soon. Thank you very much for watching.